Testing, testing, one, two, three. I don't know. It's like it's all right. So we have sound now. Testing, testing. All right, we're good. We're good. I'm gonna try to play a little bit of music. All right, so we have sound now. All right, see, yeah, we're good. We're good. I'm gonna try to. Actually, I take it back. I take it back. I'm not gonna do the music. All right, y'all. So what's up? I told y'all earlier in the week that I wanted y'all to keep me honest. Actually, this looks interesting. Let me see what this is about over here. Um, I take it back. I'm not gonna do the music. All right, y'all. So this laptop was made to be hacked.
This laptop was made to be hacked. But
Hold on.
not like
I just want to see something real quick.
No, this laptop's design, the components, everything is open source. And if iFixit did a teardown, they'd probably give it an 11 out of 10. I mean, you can replace individual battery cells. Some people with these laptops hacked in their own speakers, added more internal Ethernet, or even swapped out the CPU itself. Does that mean I think you should buy it? No, probably not. It's expensive and it's built for a certain type of person. It's not going to replace a MacBook or a cheap Chromebook. But why does this exist, and why am I still excited about it? We'll get to that. This is the MNT Reform, and this unit was sent to me for testing. It's going right back after I'm done making this
Okay,
video.
so this is
They
more
haven't paid
like
me anything, and they have no
Tinker-
input into this
Tinker
review.
laptop.
And let's get specs out of the way quickly. This version with the Banana Pi CM4 pre-installed costs around $1,500. The base model is closer to $1,200. But this one has a 6-core A311D SoC, which I've tested before. It's a bit faster than the Compute Module 4, but a bit slower than the RK3588 in top-of-the-line ARM SBCs like the Rock 5 Model B. It also has 4 gigs of RAM, a 1TB NVMe SSD, a trackball, yeah, and they sent along a few premium add-ons like this.
Okay, so yeah, it's a Tinkerer laptop. Okay, I was just wondering what was going on with that. All right, y'all. So welcome to another stream. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and I think Facebook. Let me just make sure. Yeah, we are live streaming on all of those platforms. So welcome wherever you are watching. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. See that follower goal. We're trying to get that number up, obviously, to 200. We want to get that. We want to try to build up our audience as we are building out our programs here at Alpha Esports and Technology. For those who aren't aware, Alpha Esports and Technology is a esports gaming and technology center here in Suwanee, Georgia, where we have obviously we have our esports programs, our esports teams. We also do casual gaming. We have gaming programs like our Girls Game 2 program, our Game Changers program, which is an intro to streaming and shoutcasting. We'll be launching game design programs this year. We also have some other STEM and some cybersecurity stuff coming up real soon. But what we're doing today is earlier this week, I struggled a little bit building out the Java Minecraft server. Well, it wasn't so much that we struggled. Got everything up and running, but then come to find out there was an issue, and we had the wrong server. We had the wrong server type, so we had to download the right version of Java to get it to work. So we got that working. I think the last thing I left off with was I was gonna research some options for port forwarding or hosting. As a cybersecurity professional, I do not care for the port forwarding option, just because opening up ports definitely can lead to security risks. So we started looking at different options, and I think I may have found one. Obviously, we could also host. We could also do some hosting with Minecraft Realms, which we probably will do. I'll be honest, down the line. But there's also some other hosting options. And today we are going to build our Bedrock server, and we're going to add a program called Play It, GG. And what that's going to do is allow us to build a tunnel from our Minecraft server through Play It's cloud. Wow, that car speeding down that parking lot. But yeah, it's gonna build the Minecraft. So we're gonna build the Minecraft server, and then we're gonna add Play It so that it connects and through a tunnel, a secure tunnel through the cloud. So now when we open it up to the public, we can provide them a link, or even if we gave them an IP address with to the server, and that will essentially protect our internal resources because we'll be using Playits. Now, I do expect there to be some small latency issues, but with the amount of people that we probably will be having on our online Minecraft clubs, don't expect it to be too much of a problem. And the reason why we're building out the Minecraft Bedrock server as opposed to just using our Java server, the Minecraft Bedrock server will allow us to use multiple platforms when we do have those clubs. So if you want to play from your phone, or you want to play from your console, or you want to play from your PC or your laptop or whatever it is, your tablet, whatever it is, you can utilize Bedrock, because that's the version I believe that's on everything. Now, don't get me wrong, I could be mistaken, but that's what I did. Like I said, I'm not a big Minecraft person up until recently, even in my old age now. But yeah, so we're gonna do that, and then we'll see where we go from there. All right. So if you have any questions, again, thank you for tuning in and hanging out. If you have any questions for me, or you want to just chat it up like we have been all week, go ahead and leave a comment in the chat like we've and let's talk. So had some really good conversations, especially the other day where we were talking about DeepSeek, which then led into TikTok, which then led into application security, and then it led into just overall corporate policies and stuff like that with security. But it's interesting because while everybody was on Monday, DeepSeek was the new ish, right? It was like, oh, this new AI model from China. On one hand, you had people looking at it like it was a revolution. The next, on the other hand, you had people talking about the security issues, just like TikTok. But again, just like TikTok, all the American versions of the apps also have those problems. We kind of went into why, even though they do the same things and require the same requirements for their users, why does it pose a bigger threat to China being an adversary? What's going on, Xavier? Why it poses a bigger threat? Because China is considered an adversary nation. There is a lot of cyber espionage that goes on back and forth between the two. If you look at the Salt Typhoon attack, so that's where the uproar comes in. I don't think it's so much about what they're asking of, right? Because most apps look for your IP address, your device information, and stuff like that. Only thing I say is, if you if you want to be safe, just make sure you read the terms and conditions and the privacy policies. However, let's see if I could bring it up here. And full disclosure, I also do content for eSecurity Planet, which is, hold on. So you'll probably be seeing some content about this in the future, especially as I'm working on building out that script. But I'll just go here real quick. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. All right, so this is my video on Starlink.
Secretly installing Starlink terminals on one of its
and it's not a promotion. I'm just kind of showing you. But
However, we're not ranking military officials willing to use high
see,
skis, high-tech gadgets,
that's me when I have a
and
haircut and I,
high-ranking military officials willing to
get
risk their
behind the
security for
camera with the
sports scores
proper
and
lighting and
veterans.
everything.
So
But
batten down the
anyway,
hatches because we're diving into the Cape.
so yeah, that's one of my day jobs. So like I said, I will say I'm currently working on creating some content in regards to this. But DeepSeek is in some deep water or deep trouble because I'm trying to find the write up. Some researchers from Wiz found some issues with DeepSeek, and I believe it was a walk they went through their through the API, some API calls. But we'll just go ahead and take a look at it and read through it together. So I promise we're gonna get to the Minecraft stuff in a second, but I just wanted to, I like to follow up on different things. So Xavier, how's your week going? We're almost to Friday. Okay, so what happened was some researchers from Wiz found some found an exposed database that leaked a lot of sensitive information, including chat history. So again, going back to the concerns of who owns the platform and how that data is getting collected and disseminated. Now they found a publicly accessible database that allowed you to have full control over the database operations, and we'll show. And I believe they have screenshots on proof of concept as well. So basically, what they did was they found the database that belonged to DeepSeek, which allows you to have control over the database, and you could actually send commands to it to access that internal data. So they set out to assess its external security posture and identify potential vulnerabilities within minutes. So I mean, it probably wasn't even a lot of hard work. Um, they found a database that showed completely open and unauthenticated. That was completely open and unauthenticated. So when you talk about authenticated versus unauthenticated, if you access something from an authenticated standpoint, that means you had to use your credentials. You had to log in. So your username, your password. Did you have multi-factor authentication? So did you use did you get an SMS or an email, or did you have to use like Google Authenticate or something like that, right? Unauthenticated means just like how we access this website, that's how they were able to access the database. They didn't have to do anything. They weren't challenged at all. They say the data was hosted at an OAuth 2 callback. So basically, it was at this website. So OAuth 2 callback deepseek.com, and it was on port 9000, and then also devdeepseek.com. So this looks like their dev server was probably exposed to the open internet, and it's not supposed to. So when you have applications, typically what they do is there's multiple environments that you build your application. So you'll have a UAT environment or staging environment. Or no, I'm sorry, you'll have a UAT or a development environment. Then you'll have maybe a staging environment, and then you have production. And what the idea is, each environment allows you to do certain things to access a server, right? You never want to test in production. Production is the version of the website that you see when you go to www.google.com, right? That's production. You don't want to do any. If you can, you never want to test in production. You never want to make major changes in production during business hours. You want to avoid that as much. What you do is you test in all the lower level servers and then take the fixes and everything and apply it to production, and then make sure that the changeover happens smoothly and safely. So By this saying devdeepseek.com, that tells me that this is probably a development. This was probably the development version of DeepSeek, the DeepSeek.com application. So because they were able to access that. I mean, that's how they were able to get it. Um, so the database contained a lot of chat history, backend data, and sensitive information, including log streams, API secrets, and operational details. Now, API secrets like that's I told you, it sounds like there was probably some API stuff going on there. More critically, the exposure allowed full database control and potential privilege escalation. So privilege escalation, that means they were able to act as a user with more power, right? So let's say you have a regular user account and then you have an admin user, right? Or let's say you have it's like when you have YouTube or Netflix, right? You may not want your kids to have full access to everything on Netflix, so you give them a kids account or you give them a child account. Same thing or YouTube, right? You have YouTube Kids and then you have regular YouTube. What that does is it has certain limitations and restrictions for those lower level users, and then you'll have someone who has full access. That's like admin or root privileges. Um, so when they're saying potential privilege escalation, that means they either were able to access it like a regular user, but then get those admin level privileges. So if we're using the Netflix and YouTube metaphor, that means they were able to log in with a kid's account, but still do things like they had like an adult account, or they were able to actually just change their account from kid to adult or regular user to admin. So that's what they mean with privilege escalation. So they were able to do this, and they were able to do this without any authentication or defense mechanism to the outside world. So again, they were able to log into this website, they were able to log into this application. They never had to uh, supply any usernames or passwords. They never had to identify themselves. They never had to check their levels of authorization. They were able to just walk in as a regular Joe Schmo, no user account, no nothing, and from there access this database as a privileged, as a high level user. And there were no defense checks in place. So think of it like when you're using if for my Windows users, right? For my Windows users, let's say you go to access an application and the that box pops up that says, like doo doo doo, and it's like the sound effects, but it's like, are you sure you want to accept this, right? And you have to click OK, right? That's a defense mechanism in essence, right? Because what that's asking you to do is, hey, this action is reserved for privileged users. So by clicking OK, you're basically saying that you're a privileged user. I know it's not the greatest level of security, but at least it's some kind of check, right? Now, in Linux, for my Linux users, this is like if you access something as a regular user and then you need sudo privileges, right? So now you have to type in sudo and then the command. So let's say you were trying to read a document, but you didn't have the proper, or you were trying to run an application, but you didn't have the proper access. So if you try to run it right as a regular user, you would probably get some type of error message or something telling you that you don't have the privileges to do that. So then you would have to go sudo and then run the command. Then it would ask you for a password. You would type in your password and you would gain access. So that's what they're saying, but there weren't any authentication or defense mechanisms to the outside world. Now, when dealing with applications, there's more defense mechanisms, but I'm just trying to give you a quick breakdown. So they found this chat message here, and as you can see, the message, it looks disable cache. I'm just trying to look through it to see anything in the Java. model. Okay, so the message was you can't read that, but they were able to translate it. That says introduce solid rocket boosters, including their invention or discovery, historical development, historical significance, components, working principle, functions, and future developments. Write in sections for more details. So this looks like someone used DeepSeek, which remember is basically Chat GPT, to write about solid rocket boosters. And then here you can see they're at the dev.deepseek.com. Looks like they found another port open at 8123. And now they're talking directly to the database, right? So they put select star, so that's a wildcard from the information schema tables. So now they're looking through the different tables to get more information to see what they can. But then, like I said, essentially they can dump the database. So the exposure walkthrough. Reconnaissance began with assessing DeepSeek's publicly accessible domains. They mapped the external attack surface by using straightforward reconnaissance techniques. So this is passive and active discovery of subdomains. So when they say passive versus active, there's passive reconnaissance and then there's active reconnaissance. There's passive information gathering and active information gathering. Passive information gathering is when you are using public information. So this can be anything on a website, anything on Google, anything on social media, anything that's not directly interacting with said target, right? So what they're saying is they did passive reconnaissance to gather information without actually having to touch the DeepSeek environment. So from the passive stuff, that's how they were able to get some information. And then they did active discovery. So now this is where they're trying to scan or fingerprint the DeepSeek application. So now they might run tools like Nmap, like a port scanner, or they might try to run some type of scan. And now they're actually hitting the website, right? So think of it as a house, right? Passive would be, let's say you drove by, right? You drove by the house, or you found a phone book, right? No one uses phone books anymore, but you found a phone book and you found the information, the house information in a phone book. Where active would be you went and actually knocked on the door, walked around the house, looked at the mailbox, things like that. Basically things that can get you noticed. So that's the same thing with passive and active. And then subdomains, what they did was they went to deepseek.com and they started testing different domains, right? So that's probably how they found the dev DeepSeek and the OAuth DeepSeek, which is what they show here. So they did deepseek.com and then they said, okay, hey, here's a list of potential subdomains or popular subdomains. Can you try to connect to that and see if it comes back valid, right? If it comes back, if it's not a valid subdomain, you'll get nothing or you'll get an error message. If it is a valid subdomain, then obviously, ta-da, you gained access to that subdomain. So they said they identified around 30 internet-facing subdomains. Most of them appear benign, hosting elements like chatbot interfaces, status pages, and API documentation. None of that initially suggested high-risk exposure. So what they're saying there is that basically they found a bunch of subdomains, and most of the subdomains were okay. So even though they are exposed to the internet, stuff like API documentation, that can be public knowledge, because you might be trying to use that API for your own builds or your own websites or whatever it is you're building to connect to it. And remember, APIs are essentially a piece of code or a piece of code or a program that will allow you to connect to another piece of code or a program. That's how they interact with each other. So So that API documentation would be public information because you would need to know how to talk to the API to get it to get that send that data back to you for whatever your needs are. All right. Um so whatever they did, like I said, they were looking, they none of that suggested high risk. So they continued to search, and then once they what they did is they looked beyond the standard ports, right? So for web applications, your standard ports are port 80 and port 443. So port 80 is your web server, and then port 443 is basically another web server, but that passes encrypted information. Port 80 shouldn't be open, or if it is, it should redirect to port 443 because you want it to use the encrypted version of the website because you don't want that information to be passed over unencrypted. The difference between encrypted and unencrypted when you're talking about website data and website information is, let's say I hand you a note, and but before I do that, I basically write it all out in big bold letters and I just hand it to you where everybody can see it. Right? That's encrypted. I mean, that's unencrypted versus, let's say I write the note, but now I fold it up and whatever, or I even put a lock, put it in a box, lock it up, send it to you. You have the key, you can unlock it, right? That's encrypted. So you're protecting. So when you have website information, you're protecting it. Why is that important? Because if you log in or you enter any information on port 80 unencrypted, if someone were to be sitting in between you and that website server, they can see what you're sending, right? So why is that important? Because let's say it's a bank application. Let's say you're going to your Chase or Bank of America or Navy Federal account, and someone was able to sit on that network and watch what what network traffic goes back and forth between you and the website. If it's unencrypted, when you send in your username and password, that is showing up exactly how you typed it, right? Whereas if you encrypted it, if you send it encrypted, it garbles the message, it sends it in some random characters that you're not able to, that you shouldn't be able to decipher. So, all right. So we went, so basically we just kind of went through website or web server encryption. So when they started looking through beyond the standard ports, they found some unusual open ports. Now, when they mean standard open ports, there's usually a bunch of default ports, right? So like I said, 80 and 443, that's common knowledge. That's common for web servers, right? If you send emails, most email information gets sent over port 25 or port 110, or I'm trying to remember what secure SMTP is, but whatever. If there's different protocols and they usually have default ports. Okay, that's like, if you go to a faucet, H is for hot, C is for cold, right? That's common knowledge. So that's what they mean when they say they went beyond the common ports. They found some unusual ports. These are ports that are usually aren't open unless for a special reason or unless you're trying to hide something, right? Which is what you should be doing. So they found 8123 and port 9000. And then when they did that, it was associated with these hosts. So the OAuth 2 callback, the dev, so OAuth 2 callback on port 8123, and dev DeepSeek on port 8123. And if you look, it's HTTP and not HTTPS. So remember what I was telling you about the difference between encrypted and unencrypted. If it's encrypted, you'll see HTTPS on your web, right? So if you look in your URL right now and you're on twitch.com or youtube.com or wherever you're watching this, LinkedIn, if you go to the URL, it'll probably say HTTPS. If you type in HTTP, it'll probably redirect you to HTTPS because they don't want you to see and pass any information in real time unencrypted. So all of these hosts are unencrypted and they're on 8123 and 9000. So when they started looking some more, they found that there was a publicly exposed database. Okay, so again, there's no authentication, nothing there. So that means they were able to access all of that. Okay. So it was a publicly exposed ClickHouse database. So then they go into what ClickHouse is. It's an open source column database management system. It allows for fast analytical queries and large data sets. So they go into that information. So now what happens is, if you look at so now that they know the type of database it is, they probably did some research, some Google searches on what commands you can send to that database to get that information. So now they were able to use ClickHouse HTTP database, and they were able to access a play path, which allowed direct execution of SQL queries. So again, they were able to access the database publicly. They found the play path. So think of it as oauth2whatever.com/play. And then from there, they were able to send different queries. So here you see here on port 8123, they sent a command that said show tables, right? And then when they said show tables, basically they sent it to the database. The database looked at it. Again, there's no protection of the server. There's no authentication check. There was nothing there that said, hey, are you supposed to be doing this? What level user are you? Let me see. Let me see your license and registration. Let me see something, right? There was nothing there that checked it. They just said, oh, you want us to show you the tables? Sure. And it came back with log stream, metric stream, RR web, and schema migrations. So they looked through all that information, and what they found was the log stream table contained a lot of logs that had sensitive data. So then the log stream contained over 1 million log entries with particular revealing columns. So let's see what we can see here. Let's close this. And I promise y'all, we're gonna get to the Minecraft server. Like I said, I just wanted to finish this up. So created at, so namespace, host, service. So this is all information. And like I said, they were able to basically query and get about 2 gigs of information in regards to what they were looking at. So the timestamp, obviously it gives you the logs, the span, it references different API endpoints, the string values. So these are plain text, because remember, we're not encrypted here, so we can see all of that in plain text. And that showed the chat history, API keys, backend details, and any operational metadata. So data about data. Service. So this indicates which DeepSeek service generated the logs. So that's basically saying, okay, this service grab this information, and we're logging it here. This also exposed the origin of the log request. And that also had chat history, API keys, the directory structures, and the metadata log. So again, this is just giving all types of information that, as a developer, you don't want out there, right? You don't want your API keys out there. Your API keys, or think of your API keys like passwords. Even though they didn't, the crazy part is they found API keys, and they didn't require any authentication to even get them. But here, like I said, so here's some of the queries. Here's some API keys here. They obviously had to redact it because they don't, they want to make sure that no one else can try to do these things. Again, some more API keys here. So then you can see it actually says API key SK79DE, and then they redacted the rest of it. The services and APIs. These are backend APIs, so going back to what I was saying before about having the API documentation, that's for you. That's if there's any APIs that you need to access, right? Backend APIs, that's the private stuff. That's the stuff on the back end that you shouldn't have access to. Again, more services and more service calls. So like if you look here, I don't know if you can see it, but this looks like API version 0 index.html. So if you see V0, that usually also means that if there's a version 1 or if there's a version 0, then there's probably a version 1 or maybe even a version 2. If there is a version, like for example, let's say there's a version 4, as a pen tester, I'm going to look for see if there's a version 5, version 6, and then I'm going to go backwards. Is there a version 3, a version 2, a version 1, and see if that information is public. Remember what we were saying about the dev server being publicly available. Those API endpoints might also be available. Okay, so level of access posed a critical risk to their own security and for the end users. Not only could an attacker retrieve sensitive logs and actual plain text chat messages, but they could also potentially exfiltrate plain text passwords and local files along with proprietary information directly from the server using queries like select wildcard from file, where the file name depending on their ClickHouse configuration. So when you see this star, that think of that like it's a wildcard. So that's like anything, right? So give me anything, give me everything from a file, whatever the file name is, right? So let's say there was a file name that said home address, right? That's the file. So what it's saying is select everything from the file, and the file name would be home address. And because you had public access to that database, and because there were no checks in place, that database would give you all the information that it has in that file. So, in a nutshell, DeepSeek has been public for 4 days now, and already has had a massive security breach. Again, going back to the security concerns, and I'm not whatever, I'm not trying to pick on them, because a researcher just also found that you were able to find TikTok account information even for private accounts. So again, applications and these apps need to do a better job of securing the data of their users, but that's another story for another day. Okay. So now that we broke all of that down, let's go ahead and let's get this Minecraft server going. So, like I said, I just wanted to kind of put a bow on that because we were talking about that the other day. But these are some of the issues that when I was talking to everybody, I believe on Tuesday, when I was talking to Thumbstick, when we were talking about how sometimes these companies, security is an oversight. They overlook it. They look past security, especially when they're just trying to rush to market, right? DeepSeek saw an opportunity, right? Whoever, I don't care whether it's the Chinese government or whatever, they saw an opportunity to disrupt the market and to build more value into their product. And they did just that, right? DeepSeek hit the market on Monday, and by Tuesday, over $1 trillion, was gone from the stock market. Nvidia's value dropped massively, right? It was like almost like 600 billion within the first 24 hours. As from stockholders' perspectives, if you own Nvidia, that hurt, right? And I do own Nvidia stock, so yeah, that hurt. So they saw an opportunity and they put everything out there, and they probably didn't pay attention to the fact that let's double check and make sure our lower environment servers aren't accessible. Let's make sure that we're not passing data in plain text. Yeah, Xavier, man, but the crazy part is this is the norm for, unfortunately, this is the norm for security and application security. There's a lot of oversight because they just want to push the market and they just want to get it out there. They want to be first. So like I said, DeepSeek saw an opportunity. They took advantage of the opportunity. Security be damned. And now here it is 3 days later. Oopsie. And that's pretty much what is going to happen. They're just going to go, hey, sorry, yeah, we were alerted of a vulnerability and we fixed it, right? There's going to be no consequences and repercussions. And it's not just because, they're in China. Like a lot of times it's more like, hey, sorry, right? If a lot of user information was affected, you'll get an email that says, hey, your account was involved in a data breach. Here's some credit monitoring software to check and make sure that your data is not being used illegally or someone's trying to steal your identity. If we do get hit with a class action lawsuit, or we do get in trouble, or we do get a fine and we have to pay the users, we'll probably disperse that to however many millions of people, and you'll probably get a check in the mail in probably 18 months to 2 years. That's probably somewhere between, I don't know, $11 and $20. But we're going to continue to make money, and we're probably going to continue to do this anyway. And even though we're going to fix that security issue, we're not, it's not going to make us, it's not going to motivate us to check to see if there's any more, to be more proactive. Forgive me if I sound a little frustrated. That's just kind of how things happen. All right. Minecraft. Let's do this. So I've already kind of taken a couple steps. But what we're going to do is we're going to build out our Minecraft Bedrock server, and then we're going to use a program called playit.gg. And what that's going to do is allow us to send a URL to our potential gamers to join the server. This way, we don't have to worry about port forwarding, because like I said, there are a lot of risks that come with port forwarding. We will cover how to do port forwarding if you want to do that. But we'll do that at a later date. It'll probably be a part of the series, because we're gonna go ahead and record some videos, some how-to videos to go on our Alpha Esports Tech YouTube channels and website. So you will see some content there, and you'll probably also get a huge disclaimer that says we highly recommend finding other options, or if you do it, make sure you're doing it with, you're sharing that information with people you trust. Whatever you do, do not let that public information get out. Why? Because if you let out your public, if you set up port forwarding, you're allowing your public IP address to get exposed. So for example, if you see on top of my screen here, this is 10.1.10.142. This is the server that we just remoted into, but that's a private IP address. So I'm not quite worried. I'm not too worried about you having my private IP address information, because that only matters here, right? You might have a similar IP address at your house. So you might have 10.1.10.141. That doesn't mean I can ping or I can connect to your IP address. That's your IP address in your home, your private IP address. So I'm not worried about that. It's the public IP address that you can find, from your internet service provider, or even if you use certain websites to find that IP address. Now, if you set up port forwarding, you're exposing your exposing your public internet address, because what you're doing is you're allowing the outside public to access your internal network by opening up a port. So remember when we were just talking about the DeepSeek thing, they found port 81, 23, and 9000. They had those ports were open, and that's how the researchers were able to access it, because they found those ports. That's essentially what you would be doing. You would be opening up a port, and then that port is essentially opening the door so that someone can walk through your front door, right? So they can walk through, they can just kind of walk in from the outside to the inside. Why does that matter? Um, because if that's the case, then they can they can find your they through your public information, they can track your location down, or get a very good idea of where your location is from your public IP address. You know, I'm not going to go into the details of how to do that, but they can. Also, they can do what is known as a denial of service attack, where they can send a whole bunch of network packets to that port, to that IP address, and shut the server down, or disrupt the server so that you're not able to do much, right? Think of, if you look at, and I keep finding I keep finding other things before we go into the Minecraft thing, but that was League of Legends DDoS. Where was it? Where was it? League of Legends esports DDoS. Here we go. So back in March of last year, I almost said this year, but back in March of 2024, a League of Legends esports match took like almost 7 hours to complete, because someone found that server information and was able to send a bunch of packets to the server, which basically crashed the game. And then they had to wait, and they had to fix it, and then they kept doing it. So, and if you look, they were actually attacking the server as far back as February of 2024. So probably a couple weeks before the major event, but they just kept it. They just kept going. So that could happen. That something similar can happen if you were to expose your information via port forwarding. Damn it! I just noticed y'all are looking at me. All right, so again, here it goes. So League of Legends DDoS attack back in March. So again, this information was updated back in March 13th. So on March 13th, 2024, following the onset of the DDoS attack, so this is the statement of information. So on March 4th, they said that they had to pre-record. They were going to pre-record their broadcast out of fear that they didn't fix the issue, and that they were going to continue to the DDoS attacks were going to continue. I was looking to see if I could find a video of the servers actually crashing mid-match, but yeah. So that's why you don't necessarily want to do port forwarding and then putting that information out to the public. So now let's get to I've been talking now for almost an hour. So now let's get to the Minecraft server. All right, so move over here. So if you look over here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to minecraft.net, US download server Bedrock, right? And then you're going to do, this is for if you want to do a Minecraft dedicated server software. So you're going to go ahead and click download, and you'll see it'll come up here. As you can see, we already downloaded a version of it. But we're also going to go to let's playit.gg, and we're going to download a file here. We're going to download the Windows installer, since that's the machine that we're using. And then we'll just go ahead and open this file real quick. We're going to go through the process. Next. And I probably won't show you the information just because I'm paranoid. But we'll go ahead and find the playa.gg, right? And now it says go here to claim the setup for the account. That I can share, that's fine. So we'll copy, open up a new tab, hit paste, right? And then it's going to say, welcome back. Please enter your details. We're going to go ahead and click create an account. And we're going to use a guest account because I'm not going to create an account right here with everybody watching. We're going to see it's awakened to connect servers. It's checking. Okay, so now we can. So now we'll go ahead and create our tunnel. And now you see we can use a shared IP, a dedicated IP, or a dedicated port. When you create an account, you can probably use dedicated. There's a free version of Play It, and then there is also like a premium account or a paid account, right? So if you do that, you can, if you wanted to use a dedicated IP address, you can do that here. Same thing with a dedicated port that's not available yet. So for region, any cast is free. If you want to focus on a specific location like North America, Asia, Europe, South America, you will have to pay for the premium account. So we'll just do any cast right now. And then for the tunnel type, we're doing Bedrock. And then we're going to go ahead and enable the tunnel. We're going to add it. All right, so now the tunnel is pending. And now the tunnel is there. And as you can see, we have that public address. I will, like I said, we won't be using that, but we want to pay attention to the local port, which is, looks like 19132. So we want to remember, no, actually, I take that back. It's 47966. So we want to pay attention to 47966, right? We're going to need that information later. So we have that information. The tunnel's made. We have the public address. Like I said, if you want to change it, you'd have to set up an account, right? So we're not gonna, like I said, we're not doing that just now. Let's go back to our tunnel. So we have that information, right? We have all the information. We have the port. So let's just go ahead and copy the port. So now we downloaded the Bedrock server. We have the playa.gg tunnel created. So what we're going to do here is you're going to go to your desktop. We're going to minimize that. You're going to go to your desktop and you're going to make a folder. So I have a folder for Minecraft server for my Java server, and I created a folder as well for my Bedrock server. So the file that I downloaded, you want to make sure you unzip, but I'm going to move it over. Actually, I'm going to open this up and I am going to copy everything that's in here and I am going to move it and paste it over here. All right, and if anybody has any questions, just go ahead and throw them in the chat. So while we're waiting for all of that, again, if you are new here, please like the channel, subscribe wherever it is you're watching. Please get so we can get that algorithm jumping. Again, it's not even just for me, it's just for the center, because we have a ton of programs and things that we want to do here at the center to promote Alpha Esports and Technology, provide that education to our youth, teens, adults, and we're actually starting senior citizen programs as well. But we want to be able to broadcast that and get it out to the masses. So if you can, please like, follow, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And yeah. All right. So let's go back over here. So again, now we have all the information that was copied and pasted. There's our Bedrock server there. If we want to look at our server information, we could do server name, Let's just call this Wolfpack Bedrock server. Um, game mode survival. I actually want to do creative, right? Force game mode. We're not going to force anything. Difficulty is easy. Allow cheats, no. Max players. Um, let's say 20, right? So we can do 20. Can we do more than 10 on a Bedrock server? Let me know. How many people? Let me. Hey Google, how many? I know Realms only allows up to 10. Okay, so you can have more players, but Realms only allows 10 players. So all right, so we'll just do 20 for now anyway. Okay. Online mode true. If true, then all connected players must be authenticated to Xbox Live. Um Clients connecting to remote non-LAN servers will always require Xbox Live authentication, regardless of this setting. If the server accepts connections from the internet, it's highly recommended to enable online mode, true or false. We'll just leave it on for true right now. Server port 19132. Server port for version 6 is 19133. Now remember, the port that we opened that is there is 47966. So we're gonna go here and do 47966, right? Okay, enable LAN visibility, listen and respond to clients that are looking for servers, view distance, track tick distance. Okay, level seed. So I think all of this is fine, right? And again, this is just the server for the sake of doing this today. So we're going to save that. We're going to close out of that. And now we are going to start our server. But, okay, we are not going to start our server. Release notes, Minecraft. What did I do wrong? Windows. On some systems, when you wish to connect to a server using a client running the same machine as the server is running on. Connect to the server. Okay, that's fine. We don't need to do that because see, every time you every time you want to live stream. All right, well, if we run as admin, yes. The code execution cannot proceed because the MSVP 140 DLL was not found. Reinstalling the program may fix this problem. Config default. All right. Is there a troubleshooting section? Crash reporting? Hmm. All right, so we're gonna have to check. Okay, let's try that one more time. So we're gonna hit. Okay, the code execution cannot proceed because the VCR runtime 140 DLL. So the Minecraft Bedrock server okay, so I got to do Visual C. All right, so I'm gonna move this over so you can see what we're looking at here. So we need to get the Visual C. So we're gonna go ahead and do the X64. This is for 2015, 2017, 2019, and 2022 versions. So we'll go ahead and we will, oh, I'm on the wrong place. Yes, I don't need to do that here. I need to do that on my Minecraft server. So let's come over here and we'll hit paste and come over here. We'll download it over here. And now we'll run the file here. I agree to the terms. I thought I downloaded this when we first built the server and installed all updates and patches, but I might have rushed it. So, all right. So now that should fix the issue. If it doesn't, like I said, we'll go ahead and reboot, but we'll close out of here and go back. Okay, so now let's start the Bedrock server there, and ta-da! So our server is up and running. We're going to go ahead and let me make sure I don't have to add any information in here. We'll come back. So now the server is up, right? Okay. So we are good to go. So now, just to test my theory, I'm going to change my information here. And we are going to fire up Minecraft. And this is the Bedrock edition. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to servers. We're going to y'all didn't miss anything, I promise. We started up Minecraft. The server was working. So now we're going to go here. We're going to add a server. We're going to go proceed. We're going to call it, like I said, it was Wolfpack Bedrock. Okay. The server address is okay. Ready to join, blah, 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 sign in, what we do maybe later. Okay, fine. Server has already been added, so let's save. Okay, great. So if we close, so now it should be locating our server. Okay, so it might be asking me to log in first. So let me just put my information in. So we're good. Come back. Don't make a liar out of me. Let's check our server. Unable to connect to the world. Okay, let's try this then. We're gonna proceed. We're gonna call this again Wolfpack VR, and we're gonna go 10.1.10.142. And we're in. Okay, so we can connect it that way. Right, and if we check our server, you see it says player spawned over here. So, I wonder if one person needed to be in first. Let's try something else. Let's try something else. Like I said, I'm gonna kill the server as soon as. Interesting, very interesting. Okay, so we're gonna come back here. Whatever. So we know this. Like I said, we know the server works. Gonna just kind of walk around so you can see. Like I said, we are. In our server, just kind of wrecking stuff. All right. Come back here. All right, so like I said, we know our server. We know it works. So that's definitely on the right track. So with that, like I said, we'll just go ahead and save and quit. What I want to do now. All right, so that is that. We got the server up and running. We have our Bedrock server. We have our Java server that we got working the other day. So I think we are off to a really good start. And now I think with that, we'll be able to honestly start adding people to the server, start having our clubs going. So yeah, I told y'all to keep me honest, or I asked y'all to keep me honest. Like I said, told you guys we have so many things going on that it honestly sometimes gets hard to remember. Like I said, between creating content for the YouTube channels, because remember I have my day job and then I also have Alpha Cybersecurity and then Alpha Esports and Technology. So creating content for the channels, handling a lot of the, handling most of the day-to-day operations. I do have some folks that come in and assist, but all my business owners know how it goes. When you're getting started, that's what we sign up for. Not complaining, but like I said, it's just sometimes you need that extra motivation, and getting that having y'all keep me honest in everything is my motivation, because I know if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then it's gonna be like, hey, you said you promised XYZ, and the last thing I want to do, and my family will tell you, the last thing I want to do is not be able to hold up my end of the bargain, or feel like I'm letting people down. So we are definitely not trying to do that, and I'm so glad that we were able to get that done. Like I said, we found. Does it still say Marvel Right? Thanks, Claire. Everybody watching also. Shout out to Clarosity. It's another one of our content creators here at Alpha Esports and Technology. Also, a very awesome Mercy player in Overwatch. Go check them out on their channel. Give them a follow. Please do. Check out our whole team of streamers. So we have Clarosity, we have Zay the Blurred Gamer, and then we have Lord Valak, and then I have my brother Kron Games 203. He's with the fam, but he's not. We're working on that, and then I'm working to grab a couple more. So please go ahead and give them a follow. It's weird because like my face is on both of them, but yeah. So go ahead and give Clarosity a follow. All right, go. Awesome streamer. Does a lot of different games. Does some Splatoon. Does some Overwatch. And we are in a massive loop. But yes, yeah, I don't know why it was doing that, Claire. But thanks for the heads up. Have to be sure to fix that. As a matter of fact, whatever. So yes, I think that is pretty much. I think that is pretty much it for us. We're gonna go ahead and tunnel Minecraft Bedrock. You can transfer your tunnels. We're gonna go ahead and just kind of clean up the stuff for play.gg. But like I said, we do have it running. I'm actually gonna go ahead and disable the tunnel just in case anyone tries to access it. Our server will only be available when we are online, when we're here, and when we're running our clubs. So, if you want information on that, we'll have some information coming up in the next week or so, and we'll get that information to you. So, with that being said, y'all have a good night. I'm gonna finish up here at the center. And I'm going to go get me some dinner. So, y'all take it easy, be safe, have a great weekend, and talk to you next time.